Today we're turning this small, cold, concrete dungeon of a basement area into a legit, organized tack storage room for my wife. Saddles, bridles, gear, all the things. And to do this right, first we need to attach some furring strips to the concrete foundation walls, which means we're talking concrete anchors. Specifically the Titan Turbo concrete and masonry screw anchors from Simpson Strong Tie. A mistake people often make is they mount stuff directly to a foundation wall. Don't do that. No matter how dry, we live in a very dry place and our basement is very, very dry, but no matter how dry it is, all foundations hold moisture. They're in direct soil contact on the other side, so they always hold some level of moisture. And if you add, for example, just drywall straight to a foundation wall, gluing it on or whatever, any kind of wall covering directly to the foundation wall, you're asking for problems because there will be moisture back there. You will end up with mold and you will end up with a problem. That's why you attach furring strips. Now in this case, we're going to be using pressure treated 2x2s. So we're going to make the room slightly smaller, but that's okay. We're going to mount the pressure treated 2x2s to the foundation wall, which does two things. It creates an air gap behind, which allows any moisture to dissipate. And it also allows us to have something to screw our sheathing into our wall covering later on. To attach these furring strips to the foundation wall, we're going to be using these Titan Turbo concrete and masonry screw anchors from Simpson Strong Tie. These are a stainless steel screw. What I like about these is obviously stainless steel, they're not going to corrode, they're not going to rust. Also, they attach very quickly. All you have to do is drill a pilot hole into the foundation and then you can just screw these in like a regular screw. So in this case, we're going to be attaching a bunch of furring strips. So it's going to be a lot faster. You don't need any epoxy, you don't need any concrete sleeve anchors, you don't need any of that. You can just drill these directly into the foundation wall and they're going to hold tight and they're going to give us a very strong attachment point for our furring strips, which then we can attach our wall covering to, and everything's going to be really rock solid. I'm cheating with these last couple strips because I'm using a rotary hammer. Now, this is designed for drilling into masonry. I didn't use it for most of this only because I don't expect a lot of people have these. So you can do it with the drill. Rotary hammer is a lot easier if you have one. The only thing to keep in mind when you're drilling into masonry, if you have a drill that has the option to select hammer, you could see this one has a clutch that has drill, screw, hammer. I'm switching it to hammer mode. Hammer is going to give you a lot more oomph when drilling into masonry. So if you have a hammer mode, make sure you switch to that. It's going to make your life a lot easier. But if you have a rotary hammer, that's really going to make your life a lot easier. Now people are going to undoubtedly ask me about why I'm covering up this window and what my thought process is here. This is a makeshift vent for this bathroom, but it doesn't do anything because as you can see, it's dark up there. This is supposed to be a window well, but they poured a patio over this. So this goes nowhere. It goes into this little cavity and does nothing. So I'm going to reroute this, put it somewhere else, cover up this window. We're going to have shelves. It's going to be a whole thing. Okay, now that I got the furring strips installed, and you might say, why did I do them horizontally versus vertically? It doesn't really matter. The reason why I put them horizontally is because as I'm putting up the wall covering, the plywood, it's just going to be easier for me to see where they are and hit as opposed to running them vertically, and they're very thin, so hitting them with screws and stuff doesn't really matter. Now, if this was a finished space, like if I was gonna, close this off to be a living space or something like that, I'd probably insulate with like a rigid foam, vapor barrier, moisture barrier, that kind of thing. But since this is just a glorified storage area, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is installing some blocking. The blocking is for saddle racks. Saddles can get a little heavy, so I don't want just the strength of the bolts and the plywood to be holding the saddles. I'm going to put a little blocking behind it, and that'll just give me more strength. Now that the furring strips and the blocking are all anchored to the concrete, we've basically created a stud layout over the foundation wall, which we can then attach our plywood to. And the one thing to note about this is that I'm using exterior rated screws for this because of the chemicals in the pressure treated furring strips. You want to use either a stainless steel screw, a coated screw, zinc galvanized, decking screw, something that's used to being screwed into pressure treated to avoid corrosion of the screws. This type of plywood is called T111. It's commonly used for sidings on like sheds and things like that. I went with it because I want to go with kind of a raw rustic wood vibe in here, but it has a little bit of decorative feature with the paneling layout. It's also 5/8 of an inch thick, and it allows for a little bit of flexible strength for mounting a lot of little hooks and blocks and shelves and things. And because everything's mounted solidly with the Titan Turbo concrete screw anchors, I know that the plywood is not going to pull away from the wall. So from there, now I can work on filling in the rest of the shelving and the bridle hooks and the wall-mounted saddle racks, all the random hangers and such for all this gear so that it can be kind of optimized for storage in this small space. All right, so there you go. That's day one. That's enough. That's about all the gas I have in the tank today. Tomorrow, figure out what I'm going to do up top here. Clean up, put some trim, do all that kind of stuff. Be good to go. Not bad for first day. So day 2 started by installing some trim, and you'll notice that these are just 1x4 pieces of pine. So because of that, I'm leaving a little bit of a gap between the floor and the bottom trim boards so that they're not making direct contact with the concrete. So I trimmed out with the baseboard and the inside and outside corners of this space, and then I could start focusing on the ceiling. You'll notice I rerouted the bathroom vent pipe, and as you can see, there's a lot of mechanicals and different things going on in the ceiling here. So in order to be able to maintain access to that stuff, I decided that the only real thing to do was to install a drop ceiling. But I'm not a fan of traditional drop ceilings, and I thought that by using the traditional white drop ceiling tiles that are widely available at the hardware stores, it wouldn't match the space. So I just decided to build my own drop ceiling. And I did that by just building out a little grid work and cutting some lightweight plywood to act as the drop ceiling panels. And then I tapped into the existing lighting box and ran a new series of 4-inch recessed canvas lights to add some lighting to the space. And when it was all said and done, it looked like this. So now my wife has a legit tack storage area, which makes her happy. And if she's happy, then I'm happy. And if you're working in a basement, garage, or you need to attach something to a concrete environment, having the right fastener makes the job much easier and stronger. So I encourage you guys to check out the Titan Turbo concrete screw anchors from Simpson Strong Tie. I hope you guys got value out of this build. And if you did, please hit that like button and drop your questions down below. And I'll link the hardware I used in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.